bases dropped for a new round of SDHAM. Holy crap, I actually did it right. Or at least I anticipated correctly. John, hear you there, and it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, which means that Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes is going to drop by in about 10 minutes or so, and we'll go over everything Atlanta United, everything going on in his universe, what it was like to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium as a civilian, catching I think it was the Post Malone concert. And so we'll get into everything there with Tyler. Hopefully Dylan Butler can join us at 10 o'clock. But we will be going over the rest of the matchups in the midweek in Major League Soccer, 10:30. It is going to be a little bit of soccer is in session, playoff daily live. Johnny Jackson, the girls varsity coach at Blessed Trinity, is going to drop by at 10:30 for a little bit. And we'll break down BT's matchup with Marist tomorrow. Soccer is in session, playoff daily live kicks off at noon. And there we will be joined at some point by Megan Hill, the head coach at Buford, as she gets ready for Walton, since we caught up with Jason Page in the in-session yesterday. And then what we will also do is catch up with Tajay Higgins, the head coach at Sprayberry. Nationally ranked Sprayberry is going to be going up against River Ridge in the 5A final. And so we'll catch up with him. We'll catch up with Megan Hill. We're efforting Jason Park, the head coach at Armurchie. And yesterday, for those of you that weren't hip deep into the high school activities, the final started yesterday at McEachern, and it was Class A division. Which Class A division? 1 or 2? I always get the two confused. Class A championships were yesterday on the NFHS network, and it was the first soccer titles. Of course, these pages have they're behind me. They're separate. That's why. The first ever soccer titles for Floyd County schools, Northwest Georgia up in the Rome area, since 1971. Bremen and Model went, and it was a win for Model 3-0 on the girls' side, and then it was followed by a massive comeback by Armurchie. And Armurchie came back to beat Thomasville at McEachern by the final of 4-3. So first soccer titles in the first time in a very long time for Floyd County schools. And so we are efforting Jason Park, the head coach at Armurchie, to talk about the 4-3 comeback. And we'll see if we can have him and or Lauren Jones, the head coach at Model, on Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. That'll happen at noon, and it will be, once again, Tajay Higgins, the head coach at Sprayberry. It'll be the head coach at Buford, Megan Hill. And like I said, we're efforting other folks as well. We're efforting a couple of schools that are playing later, and we're also efforting the champs that happened yesterday. And we'll try and do that all the way through as we go. So we'll keep an eye on what happens today, and we will try and bring on those winning coaches tomorrow on In Session. Tomorrow on In Session, we're going to see if we can have Maddie hang out with us from the airport. I don't know what her flight plan is to return to Atlanta. And so it will be interesting to see where Maddie is first thing in the morning. And we will try and catch up with her after what happens tonight involving Atlanta and Austin. And remember, it is a half hour later, so it's a 9:10 Eastern time start. So it will be Atlanta United MLS After Dark, without question. So we'll see what happens there. Abe and I are going to have your pre and your post on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. And I looked at the rundown yesterday, looked at the scripting, and played with it. And so we'll see how much of it sticks. But, yeah, Abe and I will have your pre and your post. Maddie will be there for the unified match, which you can watch after the Atlanta United match is over there at Q2. So it will be an interesting week. And if you follow us on social media, you will have seen Maddie catching up with a couple of the unified players before they all hopped on planes and headed out to Austin. So we'll see what that looks like with the unified game, atlutd.com/live, and Atlanta United taking on Austin tonight in 104-degree weather. I'm watching the Big 55 off to my left, and I'm trying to see what the temperatures are. They're only saying it's going to go up to 102, and I'm guessing that's at the National Weather Service site as opposed to Q2 or what have you. And so they're saying 102. We've seen 106. We've also seen 104. Either way, it's damn hot. And so you're going to have hydration breaks. You know that you're going to try and navigate all of the things that are going on right now with 3 matches in a week. Like I said, we'll talk to Tyler about that in a second. But yeah, so that's where we are with the massive rush of soccer this week. Next week it's normal, and then in 2 weeks it happens like this all over again. So basically, you have 6 matches in the month of May left, and you can really make a statement one way or the other toward the rest of your season, because we'll hit the halfway point here in May, and with international windows and such, it'll kind of calm down a little bit, and Leagues Cup and so on. But May is going to have to be where you make your hay. 6 matches left, 3 this week, 3 in 2 weeks, and you'll see where things stand, and then you'll have the summer window where you can either tweak or do something other than tweaking when it comes to the roster, and we'll see where it goes from here. But one of these steps tonight in Austin, and if you missed the interview that we had yesterday in all of the high school chaos, Phil West from Verde All Day was on with us yesterday, and he kind of gave the breakdown of what to expect from Austin FC. And we will be the Palace intrigue will be very, very high with U.S. Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez, 2 other DPs that you spent a lot of money on, and you're not getting a lot of output. So we'll see what happens with the matchup tonight at Q2. And I believe everybody, the team flew out yesterday afternoon, and they're out there. And I don't even want to know what the temperature is right now in Austin, Texas. Well, actually, yeah, I do. But we'll find out what the temperature is in Austin, just to be different than where things are right now with how it is with all the other weather here. So, all right, so let's see, weather.com. All right, so we're going to our friends at weather.com. Keeping an eye on the Big 55. So right now in Austin, Texas, it is 73 degrees. Extreme heat warning. Tell me something I don't know. It's an extreme heat warning today in Austin, where they are apparently, I think, they're going to set a record for high on this date, breaking the record that happened last year. So here's how they break all of this down. Action recommended. Extreme heat warning from Wednesday from 1 till 9. So the first half will be played during an extreme heat warning. Action recommended. Execute a pre-planned activity identified in the instructions. And I'm guessing that means that you have to read further down the page. Issued by the Austin/San Antonio, Texas, U.S. National Weather Service. Affected area, much of South Central Texas. Description. Heat advisory remains in effect until 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time this afternoon. Extreme heat warning remains in effect from 1 p.m. this afternoon to 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time this evening. What? And they're doing the 5 W's. What? Dangerously hot conditions with temperatures up to 111 and heat index values up to 112 expected. Morning, Alex. Where? Much of South Central Texas. When? For the heat advisory, until 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time this afternoon. For the extreme heat warning from 1 p.m. this afternoon until 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time this evening. Impacts. Heat-related illnesses increase significantly during extreme heat and high humidity events. Hot temperatures and high humidity may cause heat illnesses. Beat 2, 3, 4. Precautionary/preparedness actions. Drink plenty of fluids. Check. Stay in an air-conditioned room. Check. Stay out of the sun. That's not going to happen for roughly 40 to 50 individuals on the floor at Q2. And high humidity events, period. Hot temperatures and high humidity may cause heat illnesses, period. So that's I'm going to wrap up the precautionary/preparedness actions as we bring Tyler in, because we are folks that watch the weather a lot, and I have the weather on. Yeah, I've got it on the Big 55 off to my left, Tyler, as I always do. And with the temperatures being what they're going to be, breaking the temperature high record in Austin, Texas, set all of last year. So precautionary / preparedness actions: drink plenty of fluids, comma, stay in an air-conditioned room, comma, stay out of the sun, comma, and check up on relatives and neighbors. Paragraph: to reduce risk during outdoor work, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration recommends scheduling frequent rest breaks in shaded or air-conditioned environments. Anyone overcome by heat should be moved to a cool and shaded location. Heat stroke is an emergency! Call 911. So that is the advice that has been given by the National Weather Service today, with the weather alert in Austin, Texas, because of an extreme heat warning. Temperatures up to 111 blanking degrees.
I like how OSHA got involved. They were like, "Hey, man, it's hot. If you're cutting your grass, you might want to step inside like every 15 minutes or so." It would
Yeah,
take me like 8 hours to cut my grass if I followed those instructions.
well, frankly, for me, I just wouldn't cut my grass.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, we'll pass on that. We'll let it kind of burn out for another day. I'll get back to you later. I'm just going to stare out the window and see what it's going to look like, as things spontaneous, like mailboxes spontaneously combust and things like that.
They
Uh,
need the thing is, like, out there, it's a drier heat, man, and then it's just like a blow dryer, but then really, though, the veterans of the Southeast, the people who have lived here for more than one summer,
yes.
know good and well that once we get up to about 95 or 100 here in Georgia with, 90% humidity, that's a different level of heat. Screw like whatever that 111, that's nothing.
Uh-huh. No, yeah. No, not happening. But yeah, so that is what, in this 3 matches in a week, round 1 here in May, that Atlanta United is facing by going to Q2 Stadium in Austin and looking at Doug Robertson's 280 character account this morning. There were fans on his same flight heading to Bergstrom, so fans are heading out there. They're getting ready. They're getting getting that opportunity to go to a place that they have yet to go see a match. Like I said, it's a cool not temperature environment, but it's a cool vibe, and for the Verde. But I want to go backward before obviously we go forward here, and we get to go forward twice almost in a week. The fallout on your end of things from what happened in Chicago with all of everybody that has been there with you with SNS and the viewers / listeners has been blank, sir. Question mark.
I'll read you a couple of comments in our Discord just to give
Okay.
you an idea.
Sure. Okay.
Actually, I usually expect to be disappointed with this team, but they somehow break that rule anyway. Next one. My updated disappointment baseline is, will Atlanta United look better than a U10 team?
Wow.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, everybody's going through it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the expectations were pretty low, unfortunately, for the Chicago game. But like I said last week, you kind of get to game day and you're just like, all right, well, there's a little bit of something that appears like that morning because you just have that belief, you have that hope, and it's the hope that kills you. But it just wasn't the best showing. And unfortunately, it started off with the penalty, and that did nothing at all for the folks who are already bothered by Alexei Miranchuk.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens, right? Like, it is what it is. But
Well, I mean, in that particular instance, it comes off of his chest. He's trying to settle it and steer it, and in the backwash of steering, I mean, it's gravity. I mean, what,
yeah,
you're going to tell your right arm not to behave the way that a right arm is supposed to behave?
right. And it's literally pinballing. They created a triangle of men,
Yes.
and that's where the ball is at. And he just, it caught his arm. It is what it is, man. It's just, the guy can't catch a break. I feel bad for him. I really do. And then he had a pass, a through ball, or what should have been a through ball to
Yeah.
Latte Lath a little later on, that just he overcooked it. And it was the right idea. And that's the biggest thing with Alexei, not to sidetrack, but he has such good ideas. He has just not been very good at executing them this year at
Yeah.
all.
And I mean, that's with with Alexei, having to help support defensively at the back and then try and come. It's trying to find that pace that's there, that in the connections when you're trying to hook up with Latte Lot, and you end up with it was once again you're trying to figure out, all right, we're down 1-0. You push and push and push and push and push, and you finally do get the moment late. And yes. So what if it was an own goal? Nevertheless, it ended up in the back of the net. You're tied at 1, but then the lead was only there for, or the draw was only there for 5 minutes, because a game that gets stretched in transition, folks are late coming back, and you end up with open space just north of the 6, right at the penalty spot, and it ends up as a slam dunk, and it's 2-1. And so we played a lot of Ronnie Dyla after, and we played a lot of Ronald Hernandez too on Monday on purpose. And that's what I like to do on Mondays when we have the space to do it, is to hear in depth, not just sound bites, because we have the space to do it. And we played about 8 minutes total of Ronnie Dyla and Ronald Hernandez. And I did play the soundbite from Ronald Hernandez where he did drop an ish bomb twice. And I didn't bleep it. And I did that on purpose because things kind of get lost in translation sometimes when you bleep something and then you get the unintentional laugh. And it's like, oh, he bleeped it, Ronald Hernandez, I think, was a good personification of what that locker room is feeling right now as they're continuing to push and push and push and press to try and come out with a result that is atypical from what we have seen recently.
Yeah, and that's why I think every time we talk about this team, I always preface it by saying, like, I don't question their motivation, because everybody has their own form of motivation, and it's not like these guys are getting done with the game and walking back into the locker room and being like, whatever, all right, I'm gonna go play Call of Duty for the next few days, and we'll do this again next week, guys. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's not how they're feeling. Like, they're pissed off, they're upset, they're disappointed, morale sucks. And it's rough, because you kind of feel like, I think at that point you have the weight of the world.
Yeah. It's
proverbial.
it's Groundhog Day all over again.
It really is. And at the same time, they're the only ones who are going to be able to pull themselves out of it. There's nothing that anybody else can do. I mean, we can blame, Ronnie Dyla, or we can blame Garth Lagerwey. We can blame whoever we want to. But at the end of the day, there's only 11 guys on the field that can dictate how that ball is played.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to come up with something that's going to fix it. And it's not always about changing tactics. It's not always about, giving it to who this person or that person, or putting them in this position or whatever. It's sometimes just about, like, I freaking want it more than the other team.
Yeah.
And admittedly, that's really hard to get to when you're in such a dump, right? Like, mentally. And it does at times feel like it's going to take just a couple of moments of brilliance to get something to click with this team. But I mean, you look at how many teams have finally got it figured out. Like, I keep going back to the New England Revolution as an example. Like, they were, I said it last week, like, Caleb Porter's left butt cheek was on fire. He was cooking.
Yeah.
That seat was hot.
Yeah.
And then they played Atlanta, and then look what happened. They've figured out what works.
Formation change. That was it for Caleb Porter. Caleb Porter stopped being stubborn with his formational idea, and he's like, well, maybe we should do this, and you see what has turned around in New England.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like, it's turned around, and now it's like, all right, well, it may not be the prettiest football. It may not be, what we consider the beautiful game necessarily.
Champagne football, yes.
But they're winning.
Yeah.
they're getting points,
yeah.
And they've jumped. Yeah. And Michael saying Atlanta's MLS's get right team. 3 teams have been, have gotten right after playing Atlanta United, unfortunately, this season alone, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, like, this game tonight or the game against Philly this weekend, whatever it is, there's going to have to be a moment where everybody comes out and just says, dude, like, we want this more than that other team, and we're going to go make it happen come hell or high water.
Yeah. And you're going to have to do it without 3 players in particular. And, we'll take it a piece at a time here. No Pedro, no Steon, and no Brooks. And so that means that the back line, does it end up being, the Opta Apple graphic of 5 at the back? Does it end up, something like, and this is just me off the top of my head, without those 3, you're looking at probably Ronald, some combination of Ronald, Luis, Derek, Matt, and trying to figure out what the is it Noah or something like that, considering what Austin wants to do. So it's that to me is what you're staring at probably right now. Is it Ronald on one side and Matt on the other, and then trying to figure out what your center backs are going to look like?
I think Dyla is going to have an interesting choice opening whistle, and I think that you can change it also, like at halftime or whatever. But I mean, you can stick with that kind of typical, 4 where you have your 2 center backs, your 2 wing backs, and if you do that, obviously, yeah, you're going to have to bring in Ronald and Matt probably.
Yeah.
Or you switch to a back 3, and you have Noah in there, who I still feel needs to be getting time if possible.
Right.
And then maybe you bump up, one of your I would say, because Brooks Lennon's out.
Right.
But do you drop Saba in there kind of as like
that wingerish kind of a thing?
Yeah, where he's just kind of floating to the right, because admittedly he'll do the work to get back defensively. He runs. He's not going to stop running, so you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
And then on the left, you can throw in whoever you want that's going to attack, but also, not be afraid to get back. Of course, having Pedro out definitely does throw a wrench in things a little bit. But and then you just kind of figure out how that spine looks. So, I mean, I think it's in a way, it's a perfect opportunity for 2 reasons. It's a perfect opportunity for Dyla to continue to experiment with something totally different, because honestly, like, I think fans are looking at this as like a very, very low chance opportunity for Atlanta to go get anything. You're on the road. You almost necessitated some changes because of the injuries.
Yeah.
So you have that going for you. But then, I mean, why not? Why not change something up to see what sticks? You've got, I don't know, man. I've gone through this scenario a million times in my head. It's time to maybe like we said about Caleb Porter. He made one tweak, he made one change, he became a little less stubborn, and things kind of fell into place. And sometimes that's all it takes, And I think Dyla's at that point now. I mean, you look at the record. We always joked around about it before with, oh, look at what happened to Gabriel Heinze after, X many matches, blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, there's definitely some other factors here that are different than Gabriel Heinze, but it's also like, it is getting to the point where, I mean, this is rough, and you have to try something different at some point, because if you don't, you're going to keep getting the same results.
Yeah. What was it? What's the thing? Crap, I can't remember the saying about doing the same thing over and over again and
the definition of insanity.
Yeah, that
trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, you're looking at, but to your point, trying to do this, there you have the extenuating circumstances or mitigating factors or whatever word you want to use. 3 matches in a week. You're going to have to rotate out at some point with personnel because of, well, in this second case, because of the injuries and the lack of availability that is there. So, you're not with your Class A 11 that you would have in a perfect world, because once again you have your left back and your right back who are out, and one of your center backs who is still trying to come back so he can be a part of the rotation again. So it's out of necessity that you're having to try things and trying to get points on the road, because after this one, you've got to dust yourself off whatever the result is. And then you've got to figure out how to go up against Philadelphia this weekend. And we know what Philadelphia brings to the table personality-wise. So it's like you're dealing with Chicago in a rebuild, trying to figure out who they are. Austin as a team that can't score except in Open Cup, apparently. And they're having issues with the 3 DPs. And I know that we've been talking about, hey, similarities, 3 DPs that aren't scoring.
Yep.
Then you have to figure out, on the road where OSHA gets involved today. And then on the weekend, it's Philly at home. And so there's a lot of different things in play that you've got to navigate here this week. And so it's almost out of necessity because of schedule compression that you have to try and figure out things that might be a little different, because you've got to think about this one and the next one after what happened on the weekend.
Yeah, nobody's gonna fault you if you do
It's
something.
4D chess, man.
It is. I think we're getting into 5D at this point.
Yeah.
But nobody's gonna fault Ronnie for just doing something weird, and he kind of alluded to it, at the end of the match, or I'm sorry, in training. Maybe it was in training. I can't remember, but talking about, you know, essentially how the 11 isn't guaranteed.
Well, I don't think it should be at this point.
Yeah, it absolutely shouldn't be at this point. Like, it's one thing if you're a team that's, fairly consistent and, like, you're working your way through the schedule and you've got, 9, 10 guys that are pretty much locked in.
Yeah.
This is not that team right now. You need to try something totally, totally opposite just to see what happens, even if it's just a data point to where you can say, well, we'll never do that again.
Yeah.
But it's you gotta figure out, like, you're kind of running on a clock here. As long of a clock as we want to talk about, for Dyla, who I don't think is in danger, but also it's not looking great. But also, like, this isn't week 5 where we are like, oh, the standings don't matter. I mean, you're getting into, that point of the season where things are kind of shaping up and
Yeah,
you're gonna have to start playing catch up.
End of this month, you're at the halfway point.
Yeah. And so you've got to find something. And then, not to mention the massive purgatory road trip that we keep talking about that's rapidly approaching, and
Yeah.
haven't really banked any points like you wanted to. So you got to do whatever you can to figure out what works. And it may not be that one game that everything falls into place. It might be you try something different here in Austin, and whatever player maybe you tried in a slightly different position, or whatever you tell them to go do works. And now, okay, well, next time that's something small to build on, and then we can go from there. But you can't keep trotting out the same exact thing. And I'm not saying that Ronnie Dow has been super stubborn, because he has made changes in game and stuff like that. But I think, there's a time and a place, and it's not often for like a wholesale change. I think this is one of those times.
And for those that may not know off the top of their head about the Purgatory Road Trip, because of tournaments that are happening at your home stadium, technically it starts at the end of this month when you go to Harrison, New Jersey, and you take on Red Bulls, because then you have the international window. You got that international break in the first week of June. Then it is at Yankee Stadium on June 12th. You get the week off. Then you go to Columbus on the 25th. And then you get to turn around and go from Columbus to Fort Lauderdale to take on Messi and friends 3 days later. So, congratulations to the end of June, where it's, NYC, skip a week, Columbus, Miami, and then you get a week off before you go to DC United. Then you come back. Then you go to BMO to take on Toronto. So basically, you're not home for the entire month of June. It's 3 matches, but still, you're not home for the entire month of June. And between May the 28th, which is your last home match in this run of 6 here to get you to the halfway point of the season.
And that one's against Cincinnati.
It's Orlando.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Purple team comes to town May the 28th. So then May the 28th is your last home game until July 16th. And then that's
crazy.
And then that's when the Fighting Berhalters come to town to go for the home and home presented by Captain Morgan. So that's what and then Atlanta gets those home matches back. But that stretch, and it didn't quite hit me that was the stretch until you mentioned it. But it's Red Bulls, take a week off, NYC, take a week off, Columbus, Miami on a midweek weekend. Then it's DC, Toronto, and then you're back home. You're not here for the month of June. Thank you, Club World Cup. So you got to figure out ways to get things done, Or you could be I mean, look, you could be LAG right now. You're not, but LAG is in a worse world of hurt, and it looks like they're not going to have Peck and Paintsel, so they will have none of the killer P's coming up this week period, as they're 0-9-3 out of the blocks. But yeah, you've got to in this month of May where you have 5 matches left, you got to figure something out, and in an environment where they ain't scoring. Austin apparently has decided to, go downtown to the 7-Eleven and sit there and enjoy just the fountain beverages and the I was about to say the Slurpees, but I don't know. Yeah, I think they still do Slurpees at 7-Elevens, but
they do everything at 7-Eleven now.
Yeah, and so it's it's Ozuni, it's Vasquez, and it's Bukhari, and Bukhari has been sitting recently. And so this seems like an opportunity for Atlanta United to take advantage of a team that is not scoring goals and figure out a way to get past them, because there's concern at the back, there's concern at the front. So at least there's concern consistent in Austin right now at this matchup coming up tonight, later than normal because it's going to be MLS After Dark. Thank you, OSHA. So, I mean, it's an opportunity here to take advantage of something. And, yeah, things are going to be looking a little different out of necessity and out of schedule compression.
Yeah, and that actually, you brought me back and reminded me of what my other point was earlier. MLS After Dark, et cetera. Sometimes, and I'm looking at this from a glass half full point of view, so I'll go ahead and preface it by saying that, but sometimes the week between matches is the worst thing that you can have for a team that is struggling like Atlanta, because you almost overthink stuff.
Yeah, you're thinking about it, yeah.
You went up to Chicago, which maybe is a blessing in itself because you went on the road. You got home, let's see, Saturday evening.
Late Saturday night, yeah.
You probably had off Sunday. Maybe they made you come in and do some tactic stuff. I don't know. Then you have training Monday, and then you leave to go to Austin yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're on the plane, and then now your whole thing today is staying out of the heat, staying hydrated, being ready, and you're not just sitting on what happened in Chicago or everything before. So maybe that quick turnaround is enough to just say, hey, man, let's go play soccer.
Yeah.
And, screw all the crazy, like, we got to be here, we got to do that, we got to do this, whatever. Like, we're going to go play our game. Not in the sense that, like, we're going to go against what Ronnie Dial is telling us to do, but, like, sometimes you just overthink stuff, like you said. And maybe that quick turnaround will be enough to kind of help get them out of the rut. And, again, also tying that back into out of necessity, you are going to have to make some changes. Now, whether we do the wholesale changes like I was talking about a minute ago, I don't know. But you're not going to get the same thing by dropping in Matt Edwards and Ronald Hernandez for Brooks Lennon and Pedro Amador. And that might be for the best. It might be. I don't know. But, again, it's a glass half full look. But like you said, Austin is not doing well. Like,
they're offensively challenged. If you thought that some clubs were offensively challenged that we follow on a daily basis, they are offensively challenged. Our buddy Own Goal, I think, is second in the team in scoring right now.
He is. He is. Owen Goal.
Uh-huh.
You have to go and put some pressure on a team that's struggling like you are. Mm-hmm. You have to, and to your point as well, like, I mean, we talk about the beginning of the season, you had these home games where it was like, oh, we should be able to bank some points before we go on the road for the Club World Cup and everything else.
Right.
This stretch from now until the end of May, we might look back at it in September, October and say that was either what made or broke the entire season. Because if you don't get much out of this month, and then you go into June and into the middle of July without seeing Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the season's pretty well set at that point.
And it's looking long. I mean, it's when you have that opportunity. I was about to say luxury, and luxury turned into an opportunity. When you have that opportunity to play at home, you're sleeping in your own bed, you're rolling out of the rack, you're not living out of a suitcase, you're living, you're living normally, and you don't have to hop on a charter, you don't have to sit there and and end up in a town that you may not know and living in a hotel and getting miles and points and all these kinds of things. When you get past May and you're into that, May 31st to July 16th, that how many weeks? Like 7 weeks almost, where you're living out of a suitcase at the end of the week. You're coming home, and it's looking foreign, and you wish you could be in your own barn, but you're not. It is a very long look under normal circumstances. But if things don't work out for you heading into the halfway point in the second half of the season, and this stretch doesn't go, this next 5 doesn't go the way that you would like for it to go, to where you are within clawing distance of a playoff spot, then that 7 weeks on the road gets real long, even though you're practicing at home. It gets to be a real long slog when you get those matches against some tough opponents.
Yeah, if you can snag something here in the next couple of weeks, then again, I'm preface it by saying this is absolutely a glass half full mindset.
Right.
But then when you go on the road, not by design, but just out of necessity, out of what it is, you're going to have guys who are at that point spending more time with each other than they are with their own families or whatever they do at the house. Like, you are living with your team essentially. I mean, you're coming back, right? You have training back here in Atlanta and blah, blah, blah. But in the moments that matter, I mean, you are with those guys for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, glass half full, some guys figure it out. They, go out to eat a few times and they talk about, hey, I'm going to be here in this moment on this kind of play, on this break. This is what I need you to do with the ball. Or, just things like that you expect to come out of the preseason, right? That's the whole point of the preseason, is to get these guys chemistry, and seemed like it was going in the right direction for a while, and then it kind of didn't. But again, I mean, I think I'm just putting out into the void the things that fans are hoping for, because that's what you have to hold on to at this point. Like, unless you find a random free agent who does well, like Kai Kamara in Cincinnati, you're not changing anything for a few months. This is it. Now it's a matter of Dyla figuring out how best to implement what on paper is one of the best rosters in MLS.
Mm-hmm.
That paper is singed and burned and charred and halfway in the fire, unfortunately, at this point.
Yeah. And so Tyler's hanging out with us for another 15 minutes or so to break down Atlanta United, break down every aspect of Atlanta United and Austin and everything else going on in Major League Soccer. And I know that, you come out of we have to kind of look forward a little bit, because you don't visit us for another 7 days. So you come out of Austin, regardless of what the result is. And to your point about, okay, if it is a negative result, then you can sit there and put it to the side, like you hopefully have done with Chicago. And Philly comes to town, and we know what Philly brings. Doesn't matter if it's Jim Curtin, doesn't matter if it's Bradley Carnell. It's a slight twist on the Curtin-esque Philadelphia Union with Bradley Carnell. It's with more offense. And it is an opportunity, and this is something that we haven't talked about yet this morning. It's an opportunity, once again, where you're going up against a team that is very, very physical. They read the room, they read the ref, they know what's going on, and it's an opportunity for Atlanta United to be there for their teammates in what is going to be an environment that if Philly comes in early and asserts the way that they do things, it could be that much more difficult for a team in Atlanta United that is having difficulty to begin with. And so I think it's an opportunity to pounce on Philly coming off of what happens here in the midweek and not let them rule your barn on the weekend.
That's where Ronnie Dyla has to kind of put his money where his mouth is in the phrase that he told me the first time I talked to him. And I've said it a million times here and on our show and everywhere else.
Yeah.
This team needs more assholes. I mean,
I know.
You have to, because Philly's going to show up and do it.
Stick up for your teammates.
Yeah. I mean, and it's as simple as that, right? And And, for all the things that have gone wrong this year, I will say I've seen a little bit more of that this year, but not, I think, to the degree where we need to. We still don't have consistently guys,
Rooney,
delving into the dark arts. Yeah.
Rooney,
Yeah.
Rooney, you're an asshole. Exactly.
Yeah. You need that. And unfortunately, the team that Philly are playing tonight aren't going to do Atlanta any favors because they're playing the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Galaxy's, of course, this will be the game that the Galaxy goes and figures out how to win their first game of the season because it's MLS. But on paper, the Galaxy is going to go to Subaru and get demolished. And it's going to be easy for Philly. And Philly's going to be nice and set for the coming weekend.
Yeah, it's none of the killer peas, so that means it's probably some combination of Royce, Fagundes, Christian Ramirez, Miguel Berry, and that's what you're looking at here in the midweek for Greg Vanney coming into that matchup. And if it goes the way, unless Greg Vanney goes into Philly, and I would not put this past him. Sorry, Rich. And he just makes it as difficult as humanly possible to play Philly. He almost basically stands there and just goes stonewall for 95 minutes, and it's just like, all right, nope, don't want it, yours. Ball's got cooties, and kind of just inverts the whole thing, and it basically unions the union, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and
get a point however you can, and just make it as difficult as humanly possible. If you can't score, then defend.
Yeah, I mean, sit back and just be obnoxious in the way that you can be. I mean, the one thing I'll say about the Galaxy is
you only have one.
Yeah, if nothing. When you look at the way that they have played, and I know that they're coming off a touchdown, the bad side of a touchdown.
Woo.
They actually create opportunities. I'm not going to use the word chance because that's like a statistic now, and I hate that. But they're making things kind of happen, and they are incredibly unlucky, and two, just not clinical. And then you're missing the P's, blah blah blah. Philly, I think, though, out of all the teams that the Galaxy could play, Philly's the team that they don't want to play the most because of everything we just talked about with Atlanta and their version of the dark arts and what they're going to do, and they're going to play the game that they want to play at home, blah, blah, blah. So bringing it back to like an Atlanta perspective, I don't know that this game helps out Atlanta in any way. You like to think these midweek games going into the weekend, the matchups in midweek are definitely going to dictate how the weekend plays out. You want the team that you're playing on the weekend to be dead tired. Yes. And I don't know that the Galaxy is going to give Philly that at all, unfortunately. But again, it's MLS, so you never know. I also will say this, and I think I saw it back in the chat somewhere. Mm-hmm. Atlanta doesn't have the luxury right now of trying to figure out how they're going to rotate and do all this other stuff. Like they need to, you need to go out. I think maybe it was Alex or Michael. You need to go out and you need to play as if this is your final. Period. Mm-hmm. Like we'll figure out Saturday after tonight.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably because under normal circumstances, all things being equal, with the roster, the type A number 1 A+ roster that you would want, you might be able to sit there and fiddle with some things, but at the same time, because of conditions, you got to manage minutes. You got to look at guys because you can't jeopardize the home match with Philly if you overextend tonight in Austin. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's a delicate dance tonight. Under normal circumstances, it would be less delicate because you could sit there and navigate what happened and where you're going with what's happening tonight. But because of not having 3 at the back that you would like to have under normal circumstances, you can't navigate it the way that you would like 100, if all things being equal. So you've got to kind of sit there and figure out, okay, Is it Luis and Derek and Noah and, Ronnie and Matt? And then you got to figure out, okay, then what is it on the weekend? Who's going to give me 30 tonight that can give me 60 on Saturday, that kind of a thing. You're literally having to figure out math and environment and all this kind of stuff. And it is a math equation that I would not envy anyone with in this situation.
No, because you don't have any luxuries.
No.
That's the thing. Like,
especially at the back, you don't know.
No, not even kind of. And if you, in a perfect world, right? Like you would go to Austin, you go up a goal or two, then you can afford to maybe try and make a sub or two.
Yeah,
like
it's Luke or Fast Eddie or
yeah,
something like that. Will Riley perhaps or something like that, where you could sit there and it's like, okay, if I've got a lead, then I can sit there and bring in younger folks to continue to run and run and run and run and run up against Austin, which would be chasing at that point. And it's like, okay, good. You go and try and chase that speed for 30 minutes. Good luck on you. You got to get there first. And it would be doing it with folks that you're going to have to count on both tonight and I would imagine on the weekend.
Yeah. And this is where you've done it to yourself. Atlanta, like you've done it to yourself. You have dug yourself into a way to where you can't really afford to go into any game not expecting a win. Mm-hmm. Like you are one above the bottom of the Eastern Conference. And I said it on MLS Monday the other night, but like this is where, you're into the 12th, 13th week of the season. Sometimes I think it's worth looking at the Supporter Shield standings just to kind of wake up a little bit, because if you do that and you pretend in your mind that you are in Europe or some other league, Atlanta is in the relegation zone right now. And that should be alarming for the players, for Ron. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but like that should be a wake-up call. Like if this were another league, you're going down to USL, and so you can't afford to just go out in Austin and not put forth your best effort, or, maybe leave a guy here so you can rest him for Saturday. They're going to have to test out every bit of conditioning they've ever done. And put your big boy pants on.
And Austin has to get ready for Vancouver on the flip side of all of it.
Which sucks.
It's like, gee, thanks. And so, it's you'd like to have a conversation with Schedule Maker in a room. That's like you want to go in to talk to Schedule Maker in a skiff and go, excuse me, what were you thinking here? Well, we were thinking, you have those kinds of conversations. So all things being equal, going into tonight, what is your starting 11 as you would anticipate it being in this match that will be brought to us by the name Brad?
I would, let's see, starting from back to front. Hang on, let me get out
get the board.
Get the board out.
There you go.
Mostly to help me visualize and not lose my train of thought. All right.
Yes.
Because things suck right now. Let's see.
Where's your eraser? Okay.
All right. I still think you figure out a way to play three at the back. So you put Luis Abram on the left. Then you put Derek in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put Noah Cobb on the right.
Okay.
Then I think you put Ronnie as
your right back or your left back?
Your right back.
Okay, and then Matt on the left.
Yep, Matt on the left.
All right.
Then that leaves, let's see,
2. Who's your 6s?
I'm gonna go with Jay.
Okay.
And
Tristan.
Wish.
Okay.
Wait, Miyumba's back, right?
Yeah, he gave you 30 last time.
Right. I'm gonna go with Miyumba.
Okay. So Jay and Tristan is your 6s.
Yep. All right, so that's
5 and 2 is 7. Brad is 8. So you have three up top.
So then, of course, we're gonna have Latte Laf, and then
left and right.
I'm going to go, and this I don't know. All right, I'm gonna go.
You're going to go Lexi and have somebody and have Alexi be your point guard for the folks up top?
Nope. I'm going to go Miggy.
Okay.
And we'll try out Saba again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So maybe Miggy kind of a pseudo right.
Okay. I was going to say second striker, basically.
Or, yeah. And then Saba. I don't know. Because I think Alexi needs to pump the brakes a little bit. And I know that sounds harsh, but, and you try something like this, and if it doesn't work for Miggy, I mean, we got to be fair. Then you got to let Miggy pump the brakes as well, and you got to let Alexi, dive in.
Mm-hmm.
I just think you're going to get more speed out of Miggy, obviously, who's going to be playing against a team that we talked about. Just isn't doing much on either side of the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know that Alexi's going to be the one to thrive in this environment.
So then basically you're having Tristan be your point guard and run like hell back on defense?
Yeah, but then you've got Jay, he's going to give you everything anyway. We know he's going to leave it all out there on the field. So, I mean, maybe this lends itself to a shootout more than maybe the other tactical decisions would. But again, I think you've got to change something up somewhat drastically in this just to see what happens.
Yeah. And now, so are you going to keep that board in its pristine shape leading into the show tonight?
Yeah, I'll leave it here. Well, I'll even show it.
There you go. See, there it is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's his.
There's my receipt.
There's the rundown. And so 7 o'clock tonight on the SNS. So
actually 8.
Oh, you're 8?
Yeah, we're doing 8 because
you're leading in. I see how this goes.
Yeah,
So you're going against me and Abe. I see how this works.
Oh, that was unintentional. To be fair.
I see how this is playing. All right, so you're going to do a pregame show. Okay.
Yeah, because it's like obviously our normal show would be at 7, and when the game was at 8:30.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It was 8:30, 8:40. Yeah.
We were just going to be like, all right, we'll do 7 o'clock, keep it like our normal show. Also, kind of do the pre-match show at the same time. And then it'll just be maybe a long show. We're also doing a watch along on Patreon, so it was just kind of lead into that.
Okay.
But with the pushback and how busy all of us are in the month of May,
yes,
we were like, you know what? We'll do 8. Do it for about 45 minutes or so.
Okay.
Lead into the watch along.
Right. And so how was the Mercedes-Benz as a civilian, sir?
Hey, man, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Weird because I was thinking about it beforehand, but I've never been in the Benz outside of a soccer capacity, like whether it's a fan or media, whatever. And it's kind of weird seeing it, I mean, I've seen it like while we're there and they, after a game, they're tearing it down to do something different. I've seen it in that way, but to see it all built out for a concert, we went to go see, it was Jelly Roll and Post Malone, which was super cool. Mm-hmm. But man, we had a really good time. It was just a lot of fun. Yeah. And in my head the whole time I'm thinking like, maybe this is going to cleanse all the bad juju that's going on around Atlanta United right now.
Well, and you're sitting there and you're hoping, okay, just don't mess up the grass. Just, don't mess up the surface. Okay. Yeah. I know you got all those plats down there and I know that the stage is meant to be flat and supportive, but don't mess up the playing surface. That's all you want.
You know what's funny? At the very end, so Post Malone was doing the song Sunflower, which is from one of the Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
One of his, more famous songs. And he kind of had like a second stage that was never used the entire time. And it was on the side opposite the supporter section.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
And he kind of had the band playing for a minute while he relocated. He starts playing the song. And in the middle of the song, I mean, the pyrotechnics that came out of this stage, the fireball was still fireballing when it hit the roof. And me and my wife were like, don't know that it was supposed to be that high. I mean, it was a massive fireball, like one of those that when the fire actually dissipated, it wasn't just clear. There was black smoke everywhere. I was like, that was maybe a little too powerful, but maybe it burned away all the bad stuff that's in the building.
Okay.
I'm a glass half full guy this morning.
I know a lot of us are. It's like the fireball and that surface on the Venus flytrap on the roof. I'm like,
yeah. I was like, ooh, that's That was hot.
It's a little too close. It's a little too close. What you should do is have a multi-screen experience this evening. I know how this works. So a multi-screen experience, since Abe and I are doing pre and post at 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. So we're going to be on the audio side. So to do the public service, have a separate device running simultaneously between, say, 8 and 8:45-ish for the normal Wednesday show, slid back because of environment and all the other things. So SNS is now at 8 o'clock tonight. Then they're going to have their watch along. Abe and I are going to be doing pre and post in and around Mike and Jason at 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. As always, my friend, great to see you on Wednesdays. Great to talk things through. Great to have our Walpassian conversations and have all of our whiteboards and working through things, especially in a very, very busy week of May. Go enjoy. Oh, what's the mug this morning, by the way?
It was the Mandalorian in honor of Andor's last episode. Yeah, last night or whatever day it was.
Yes. So Andor is now into the land of reruns.
It is. It is. Great show. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, you should go watch it.
Okay. So as always, my friend, great to see you. Be safe and get in your naps because I know we're going to need them.
And maybe some alcohol.
Yeah. Careful there, sir. Careful there. I don't know if you can do safe. Can you do safe watch along with that going on as a part of the shtick?
There has not been a watch along that has not included alcohol, to be fair.
Okay. Just checking.
Just got to limit yourself. Yeah.
Just checking. I just wanted to see. All right. So be safe, my friend. We'll catch up with you.
Appreciate it. See y'all.
There goes Tyler. So that means that since it is 10 o'clock, we do the hot tag and we bring in Dylan Butler and we find out. I heard that Newcastle might be changing their crest. They might be going away. They're going away from what they currently have for something that is probably more marketable and easier to turn, I think, when it comes to selling gear. Did you see this?
I didn't know. And I don't know. They don't they don't seem to have a problem selling gear to the hardcore fans. I guess they're trying to get new audiences as marketing execs, I guess we'll do. But
yes. And so
I managed, by the way, to be spoiler free.
Oh.
So as I said, I was on the last match night coverage, right?
Yeah.
I think ended around 1 or so. 1:30. And that match was a 7 o'clock one against Chelsea, right? Huge one.
Right.
So hit the DVR. Here's the key to this whole thing.
Okay.
Stayed off my phone the entire time. So I slept until whenever I slept until, watched the match, I didn't even have the phone, like, instead of, like, I didn't even have it upright. I just had it down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like there could have been I don't know, anything. It could have been happening. I was watching the Newcastle Chelsea match. So,
oh man,
a little more manageable Sunday. It's 11:30.
Yes,
Arsenal. So.
Yes, absolutely true. When you look right now, as we are at Major League Soccer and the chaos, I mean, obviously we had Tyler on to start things off here on Wednesdays, as we always do. And discussing
Atlanta. Did Tyler say that he comes on here and drinks? Is that what would happen? Or
no. He said that. I might be happy to do that sometimes, considering what's been going on here in Atlanta this year. But they do watch-alongs, and so as a part of their external programming, and so they're doing their watch-along tonight. Where if you dumped out whatever the contents of your alcohol were on the sidewalk in Austin, it would instantly turn into smoke. So nothing like the 112-degree temperatures that are going to be going on tonight for Atlanta and Austin. We were getting into watch-alongs and things. Right now, it's a key time. You got 3 matches in a week for the first of 3. It's like in 2 of 3 weeks, you got 3 matches in a week. You get to the halfway point of the season, and you're kind of staring at right now stuff in the midweek, and you got some teams in the West that are hurting. You got some teams in the East, including Atlanta, that are hurting, and some of the standard names in the East and the West. But everybody's looking at Vancouver, and are we to the point now at Vancouver where we're stopping, waiting for the other shoe to drop, and just accepting them for where they are, that they've only lost once in their first 12, and that they're right now. Don't wish it, because it ain't happening right now when it comes to falling down.
It'd be funny, right? Like if Ryan Gauld comes back, and then instantly like they start losing, and like like, oh, so actually not having Ryan Gauld was what was helping.
Yes.
No, I mean, listen, it's remarkable. Like, it's not. I thought a year ago they were that team maybe just below, or like the best version of themselves was maybe like a tier below the elite teams.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like where they were going to top off at. And again, I feel like, outside of maybe people in Vancouver,
Yeah.
I was one of their biggest supporters around, and we had this conversation back when Ryan Gauld was even signed. I thought it was a great signing. Thought he was crazy underrated. I thought Brian White was underrated. I don't know if it was a situation where they're just like out in the West Coast, right? They play these late night matches for us on the East Coast, but yeah, man, like it's crazy. Like it defies, for a league that is as illogical as MLS is, it defies logic. Like, I mean, the parts are there. Like it makes sense when you look at it, but it defies logic that they have made such a leap into now becoming this team that is, challenging for points, records for CONCACAF champion. Like they're the best team, on this side of the world. Like, I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, and we're never one to dial up the hype machine here. But if this pace were to maintain, you'd be finishing with 81 points for Vancouver if you kept this pace up for an entire season. 36 matches, you'd be at 81 points. So, slightly average year in Vancouver, where there are some players who I'm sure are not even household names in their own household. And then you look at Minnesota, who is currently second, and they're the model of consistency, 3-1-2, both at home and on the road. And Eric Ramsey basically is just like, what is that circular thing that we're supposed to play with? Lowest possession numbers in Major League Soccer because of how he wants to do things, but you're clinical in your finishing, and you want that regardless. But you've got great defense. Dane St. Clair in net. You might possess the ball 35% of the time if you're lucky. And everybody keeps looking at those numbers, and it's like, how is that sustainable? But so far, it's been sustainable for Minnesota in one of the more odd approaches that we've seen in quite some time in trying to win matches.
Yeah, and it's not the energy drink soccer ball is cootie style.
Mm-mm.
So, listen, I love it. I mean, it's and we've said this also before. I feel like it's part of the evolution of this league, where you've got different playing styles and different ways, and it's not a it's not a one way to play league, right? So I think styles make fights, and I think that's what makes it great, right? Like you go into it and you think about a chess match, right? A team that, what happens when they play Philly, right? Like,
Ooh.
Who's gonna nobody wants the ball.
It's like Pong in the old days. You just send it, and it just goes back and forth the entire time.
Robin Lod is another one too. Like if you want to go, I can't. Like obviously now Brian White isn't on the all underrated team, but Robin Lod is another one too, who I think maybe doesn't get enough credit for what he does.
Okay, since you've gone down this road and we're at the 1/3 poll, who else would be on your Dylan Butler all underrated team?
Oh geez, I haven't even. Of course I bring it up, but I haven't really.
Roll that. All right. Well, then write it down for next week. So
yeah,
so
fair enough. Fair enough.
all underrated team from Dylan Butler at the 1/3 mark. But yeah, I mean, San Diego has maintained, they have sustained, and everybody's sitting there going, okay, we thought that after the hot start, and to your point about, Ryan Gault, Chucky Lozano, Chucky gets injured in the first home match, and they continue to play well. And then you're thinking, okay, well, maybe Chucky can kind of stay injured for a little bit while we get our sea legs under us. And then they kind of
how Dryer's become the
Yeah.
excuse me, before the start of the year, you'd been like,
Yep.
Clearly the best DP in San Diego is Chucky, and
Right.
Dryer has been.
Yes, and so he has been a mainstay on my fantasy team. Full disclosure.
There you go.
So, they regressed to the mean a little bit. They tried to build through the spine, and now San Diego seems to have kind of come back to. It's like, okay, we took that first body shot, and now we caught our breath a little bit, and now we're getting back to being adjusted in the league in the Western Conference. And I think that outside of 1 and 2, I think that 3 through 7, if not 8, I think it's just going to be one of those street fights for the rest of the year where you're going to see somebody have a good week, whether it's Portland or Seattle or LAFC, and then they're going to hop up, and then someone else hops up. And so I think that the West, just for the casual observer, if you take Minnesota out, and if you take Vancouver out, then I think that it's going to be fun to see 3 through 9, at least in the Western Conference, because of how much chaos it could be.
For sure. And Seattle getting results without their main stars who are hurt, right? That's impressive. Apparently Roy Kent is doing it, right? From coming from England.
Whistle.
Portland, getting results as well. So yeah, I think that's another fun part of this league as well. It's maddening for a fan, no doubt, but there isn't that super consistency week to week where, I mean, it is a roller coaster a bit, right, among these teams. With the exception, I guess, of the very good and the very bad.
Yeah. So, all right. So since you mentioned the very bad, it is stunning to see how Schleprock seems to have taken over in Carson, California. And it's like one thing or another, and it's an own goal, and Yamane face turns into a
spectacular own goal.
Yes.
Like it wasn't like a deflection off of a heel, off of a free kick. Like this was like, I am going to put this ball into my own net.
Yeah. And it is, I don't know if you can sit there and go, well, this might be this might be how one player does in fact make a difference, but
it can't be. It's not on one guy. It can't be anymore.
Well, and I know, and that's the thing. It's like you look at it and you're like, well, you thought that it was going to be, no offense, and not having Ricky Puig was going to, lend itself to the rough start while they were trying to figure out what was going on, and Joseph Paintsel was trying to come back and get healthy, so you might have had 1.5 of your killer Ps, but then Paintsel comes back, and then it turns into what it is, and it's not improving, and it just seems like this literally is like Droopy Dog and Schleprock, and the black cloud, and everything is hanging over Carson, California, and you send the Goodyear blimp up from next door, and it could blow the fans as much as humanly possible to try to send that marine layer away, and it ain't happening right now. It is just bad. It's a bad scene.
Yeah, I will agree with Greg Vanney in this one point, that obviously if you take away 3 designated players off of any team, they're not nearly what that team should be.
Mm-hmm.
That said, and every team deals with injuries, and I'm sure there's been a few teams who have been without all 3 DPs over the course of the last year or two, but those teams also don't lose 7-0 you know, they don't get off to a winless in 12. Like it's not, they don't get to historic lows, right? That is exclusively an LAG thing right now.
Yeah, it is.
So, I don't know.
I know
Like,
we run out of things to say almost, and it's like you're to the point where you're almost
and now they're in Philly tonight.
yeah, and it's like you're in Philly, and we ran through the schedule, and it's like there was a match. I think RSL was coming late in the month, and I thought that might be the first opportunity for a win is later this month, and your first win would come at the halfway point of the season. That is literally you're to the point where you're trying to find the live chicken at this point.
Yeah, and you're in Philly tonight, and the weather is going to be god awful. The soccer might be as well, and then you go home for Traffico.
Oh,
Like to fit to like, and look, with like I think we've said this. Like I'm a fan of those kind of a little bit under the radar rivalry games. Like I love Rocky Mountain Cup. I love the Canadian Classic. But look, Traffico is that top rivalry, right? I do not remember there being like usually those teams are fairly in the same area, right? In the same zip code.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close right now. Like it's been historically bad, and it doesn't look like it is getting any better.
I mean, you got somebody who's getting curb service from the valet, and then you got somebody who's like parked in like the 4th sub basement trying to figure out where the car is. I mean,
can we get the car to start?
Oh, it's
covered in bird poop. Like it's got
like,
flyers all over it. Like do not park here.
Yeah, and all
has a boot on the tire.
all the tickets that it got from sitting there, and you can't bring the wrecker down to the sub basement to get it because the wrecker can't navigate all that space.
You have the trophy in the trunk, and
and it's
next to a crowbar.
Yeah, it's like then there's like a 7-iron. It's like one of those old persimmon woods that's kind of hanging out of the back seat, and just it is. I cannot remember a team that was as successful as it was the year before, completely and totally just falling down on itself and tripping down the stairs as much as we've seen LAG do this year.
See, it's funny too because like Red Bull, the previous time they made MLS Cup, they did so like I think they made the playoffs the last day of the regular season. So like they weren't like super great during the year. And then the year after they made MLS Cup, they were horrible. But like they weren't very good the year before either. Like they just happened to kind of trip into the playoffs and get on a hot streak a little bit. And fortunes went their way. But the next year, they made Champions League and they lost to W Connection from Trinidad.
Yes, W Connection. Wow.
I went to that away match actually.
Nice.
Yeah, in Marabella, Trinidad.
Nice.
Oh.
That's strong. By the way, Cesar Luis Merlo has released in the last couple of minutes that Dome Torrent is not going to be Chivas' new coach. Negotiations between Chivas and Dome Torrent have fallen through after he left Atlético San Luis last couple of weeks ago. So can confirm Torrent's arrival at Chivas is completely off the table. Difficulties in reaching an agreement. And so now it could be that Dome Torrent might be going to Rayados de Monterrey. He and Gabriel Milito are the two big contenders to take over that gig. So that
why maybe cash is the answer, but
I'm sure.
Why would anyone want to be a head coach for a Liga MX team?
That's the issue because the churn rate is very high. I mean, literally, you're going into that anticipating getting sacked. So you are going in there for a cash grab because there is no sense of stability in Liga MX. And so that's
like, never mind buying a house. You're not even renting a house. Like,
No.
you're in a hotel.
Yeah. It's like I'm doing the weekly hotel thing, and it's all there. That ain't happening for me. So yeah, that's just that ain't there. Juice boxes tonight. We did mention a couple of other matches. We did mention a couple of matches out of the blocks. NYC is an underdog at DC United. NYC is almost a plus 200 in the composite, going up against DC United, who is a plus 120. That seems like a rather large margin, sir.
Yeah. I don't.
Folks about this, they seem to
I don't
know.
recommend wagering on Major League Soccer.
Nope. Orlando and Charlotte. Orlando is purple team is a minus 120, and Charlotte is a plus 304 in the composite. I don't think we could have an MLS match day without either Will Saha or Dean Smith yelling into the breeze, and they get to do it now with the purple team as a decided underdog tonight. What do you think?
I think that's an interesting match. You know, it's one of the, especially I think for the early kickoffs, I think that's one I'm going to keep an eye out for, just out of curiosity. I mean, one, it's kind of like what Orlando is. Well, I mean, what of either team is showing up, right? Like what Orlando is showing up. They were the team that couldn't get scored on for like 5 straight games. They didn't do a lot of scoring themselves, and then they just get into this like drunk match with New England where they both, you know, it was like 6 goals combined. So I don't know what to expect out of that one. You know, Charlotte on the road isn't Charlotte at home, clearly. But I could see why Orlando obviously would be a favorite there. I mean, you know, Philly, LA for obvious reasons is, you know, you watch that one out of curiosity.
LAG's a plus 400, by the way. Ain't touching that one for nothing.
Is that how many goals too that are expected to?
Plus 400?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, Philly's a minus 159, draws a plus 301, and LAG's a plus 400. Cincinnati's at Toronto. They're favored on the road, which I find interesting because traditionally folks going up to BMO, you always end up as a dog, even though you would be the favorite on paper, but they never play the games on paper, as we are told. Minnesota at Houston. Minnesota's favored on the road at a plus 148. Nashville and Red Bulls at Geodis at 8:30. Nashville's a minus 122. Red Bulls almost a plus 300.
Yeah, I mean that's another one. I think that's interesting. You know, with obviously Red Bull coming off that historic win, they go to Nashville. Yeah, I think that's one to watch as well. I mean, unfortunately, the only like rivalry week match of the midweek is, you know, 2 teams that aren't really playing too well right now, right? St. Louis and SKC.
Yeah. So. You're not in Kansas anymore. I've seen the billboard and the scarf. I know how that works. Yeah, so Nashville
and Atlanta, by the way, I know you. I'm sure, you know, I just jumped on here, but I'm sure this has been part of the conversation. You've got to win that game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Right, like you have to win that game.
Yep. Like, and we, you know, you're like we mentioned that you have 5 matches left in May. It's a 3 matches in 7 days. Then you play like on Sunday, and then you end up with 3 matches in 7 days to wrap up the month. And you've got to start, you know, if you're serious about making a push and not being like Zombie Sounders or something like that, independent of a Zombie Sounders like move, then this would be one of those matches to do it in, considering that Austin doesn't score and hasn't.
Yeah, and Philly's coming into town, right? So
yeah, and so you've got to figure out a way to put it away so you can be ready, even though you're injury depleted at the moment at the back, and then get ready for Philly coming in on the weekend. So there's all the things that are coming together. So yeah, all caps and Sporting, all caps are favored at a minus 101. Austin is a plus 106, hosting Atlanta United at a plus 223. RSL is hosting Portland. RSL is a plus 104, and Portland is a plus 234. Draws a plus 273 in the composite. I would probably end up taking the over in that one, and not staying close to a total or, you know, one way or the other. So I'm looking at goals scored in that one, not necessarily a winner in that one.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I think that's got the possibility for I don't know, 3-2 maybe.
A little after darkness, a little MLS after darkness.
There's a lot of heat on the After Darkness. You know, when you look down at the games you're about to mention.
LAFC in Seattle. LAFC is favored at a +110. Draw in Seattle, basically a +244 in the composite. Pretty much the same thing. What do you think about LAFC in Seattle? More goals as opposed to picking a team?
Yeah, I think that is the match of the match night.
Okay.
You know, I think both teams are going well right now. You know, it's that whole, you know, I mean, Seattle kind of it's been their boogeyman a little bit, although they solved that. You know, they ended their losing streak or their winless streak against them, but you know, both teams playing well right now. I mean, obviously, look, there's a lot of eyes will also be in San Jose. In another one too. I don't know what the over is there, but that could be one of those you pick as well.
Okay, so we will skip San Diego and Colorado for the moment. So we will go to the total in that match for San Jose and Messi and friends. Over under 3.5 is a +113. That's low. Over under 4.5 is a +254. So if you're looking at something 3-2-ish, you could jump on it basically at a +250 and go over 4.5 at +254.
I would say take the over.
5.5, if you're really adventurous, is a +564. So, and if you did, and by the way, if you did the over under at +5.5 in the first half of El Clasico this past weekend, it was a +1725.
Wow.
So I don't know how many, like, it's like, oh, so you were the one that did that. So yes, +1725 at El Clasico. San Diego and Colorado. San Diego, big favorite at home at Snapdragon at a -189. Colorado at a +425. And San Jose against Messi and friends. San Jose favored at home at a +134. Messi and friends are a +169.
Oh, by the way, props to Minnesota. You know, I think their owner came out or someone there came out and talking about, you know, they had an opportunity to play that match somewhere else, and you know, like some other teams have done when Messi comes to town, they opted not to. They said, you know, we want to play it, you know, at Allianz, and I think that's you know, well played to them. Like I think that should be the case for more teams, right? Like, don't take your team out of
your barn,
100%, or even out of your city.
Mm-hmm.
Make that match special for your season ticket holders. Make it a home field advantage. You know, you could welcome them in. You know, you could have those fans in the seats, but you know, have it at your place. That's kind of my, you know,
yes,
my thought.
Yes. So what are you up to tonight, sir?
I am on the desk.
How early are you? Are you the man on the desk, period, or are you the early, or are you the?
I mean, there's a team, but like I'm on, 7:30, I guess.
Okay, so you're there for the duration
To the end, yeah. Wrap up is at whatever time it is, and
so is it 10:30, 12:30? So it'd be like 1 a.m.
Oh, I think we're going beyond that.
Yeah,
I suspect there'll be some sort of coverage off of the 10:30 matches and waiting for writers to file and.
Can't you tell them to just kind of like move along?
Doing MLS wrap up clips off of season pass. So yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's a busy night.
So then, do you get a nap in between now and then?
No, that's not happening. I think that's more for me tomorrow. Maybe after school bus drop off, before a big lacrosse game I got tomorrow. You know, that'll be an opportunity, I think.
Varsity Media on the YouTubes where you get your
big one. Chaminade St. Anthony's at Hofstra. Chaminade number 3 in the country. St. Anthony's number 9 in the country.
Ooh.
These rosters combined
have
did the count last game, 43 Division I commits between them,
Okay.
between the two rosters.
Nice.
And some of the biggest names, if you're a lacrosse fan, in the game have played for these two. You know, Pat and Chris Kavanaugh, Brennan O'Neill, Tommy Schreiber, Liam Entenmann, all of these guys. If you're a lacrosse head, these names mean something to you, and they've played for both of these teams.
Strong, as always. Great to see you, my friend.
By the way, I wanted to answer Bart's question.
Go. So then answer Bart's question.
What makes Red Bull, or even just the New York area, a difficult place to play for the men's national team is because it is such a melting pot, and you've got whatever the team coming in, they've got a big population in in New York.
Yes.
Right. So they played Costa Rica, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Costa Ricans in the New York tri-state area came out. They wouldn't dare play Mexico there. They are essentially the road team at RBA.
Yes.
And they will be for these matches as well. You know, when what is it? Korea, right? They're playing.
Yes.
Forget it. Yeah, no, it's all they're gonna have like the US fans like in like the upper quadrant of
You're gonna go
RBA.
Go up there at RBA, and you're gonna be
Yeah.
fishing for Ubers late.
Yeah.
And they won't know.
And Della's right. Dads do not sleep.
No, that is absolutely true. So as always, my friend, great to see you. Don't be a stranger. You know, you got the keys to the kingdom. You can crash anytime, but just enjoy the night's action. We'll catch up with it, and we'll talk 2 matches when you come back here next week.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com with his mug. And so now we go into a little bit of Soccer's in session. Playoff Daily Live is going to be coming on at noon. We are going to be bringing on Jason Park, who won a title yesterday in a big comeback against our Murchie. So he'll be on. Megan Hill from Buford will be there. Tajay Higgins from Sprayberry will be there. But we have a bit of a preview. And for this, we go to BT and check out Blessed Trinity and catch up with Johnny Jackson, the head coach for Blessed Trinity, as he gets ready for his matchup against Marist. Welcome to the morning show, sir. Oh, I can't hear you. I hear like that sound, but I don't hear you and your voice. Okay, so it's probably a microphone adjustment in there somewhere. Okay, still hearing like the breeze and everything. Nope, still keep hitting buttons. I think it's an audio thing. Figure out. Oh, thought I heard something. Oh, keep hitting buttons. Okay, because I hear it clicking back and forth. All right, how about now? Nope, nuts. Keep coming. All right, so hit a button and talk, or change it and talk. Your input, because I can hear me, but it's coming back and I'm hearing me. Okay. How about now? Okay. How about this? You have your phone near you. You can log on your phone too, and then I can take your phone if the microphone is still giving issue. Yeah, it'd be like the same. Like I said, I can't. Tell you what. Let's do the chat function here. So yeah. So basically, if you log in on your phone with the same info, that might work too. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're trying the phone, and just click on the same link, and then we'll bring the phone in, and it might be you at your desk. So we'll see what we can do there in bringing in Johnny Jackson, the head coach at BT, to talk about BT, and we'll talk about BT. And I'm gonna find my bracket. So here, let me find my bracket. He's got his matchup tomorrow, and There are times when we do catch up with coaches in schools where it is firewalls and all these kinds of things that that will block one way or the other, and so it's an opportunity for us to kind of have to think around things. But yeah, Quad A girls, as we look at the bracket, and it is on the right hand side where our friends from Blessed Trinity come into play. And then it is, okay, so let's try here. Coach, can you hear me that way?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go. Fantastic.
Really?
There it is. Awesome.
Should I log off of the other one?
I got you. I got that part in the waiting room. So just
Okay.
you're good looking into your phone. Fantastic. Glad we could do this. And thanks for doing this, especially as you're prepping for a title. There are a couple of different things that I do want to get into when it comes to this conversation, but did you have to consult Ed Dudley and Trip Allen before you came in to figure out it's like, oh no, you're going to be doing something with Nelson, help you, man.
No, I didn't talk to them, but my assistant coach, Chuck Goddard, knows you as well. So he said, you're the guy, and I should do this.
Yeah. So no, and please give a tip of the hat to Coach Goddard about all this stuff. But
absolutely.
If I had told you the beginning of the year that Blessed Trinity would be 18-1, ranked number 5 nationally, number 5 in the state of Georgia, and playing in the last game of the year against Marist, what would you have told me?
I've definitely been pretty excited about that. That's always certainly the goal, but it's definitely tough. We're a pretty young team this year. We have 8 freshmen, and so just for this kind of run and to be in this situation is really awesome, especially considering last year. I don't know if you know anything about us last year, but we only won 4 games all year last year.
So how difficult was it, I guess the lessons that you learned from last year, only winning 4, carrying them forward, what was it like in the time off of last year coming into this season, knowing what you learned from last year? What was the off season like getting ready for this year, knowing that you were going to be young at parts with this club?
Really the biggest thing we focused on this year was team culture, team psychology. We had a really, really hard schedule last year, and we started off with a couple tough losses and really never recovered in terms of confidence. And we really tried to instill that in them all year last year, but we really couldn't get over that hump. I think we lost 9 1-0 games. We just couldn't figure out how to put the ball in the back of the net. So this year was really about just believing in ourselves, getting confident, developing a good team culture. We have actually 4 really, really great senior leaders who put together some team bonding experiences. It's almost like a new team because we have 8, like I said, 8 freshmen, mixed in with about 10 returners from last year. So
you mentioned all of those freshmen. How long did it take for them as a group to understand the mission that you were looking to accomplish on a game by game basis? How long did it take for them to get to full song, or is it still parts where it's a work in progress?
I would say not too long. I think we might have actually started 5 of them in our first preseason scrimmage. We'd had a handful of injuries early in the year where a couple of our key starters were sitting out, so they got put in the mix right away and jumped in, and it just really hit the ground running.
You got some double-digit goal scorers, but there are a lot of folks who were there for you this year when it came to putting the ball in the back of the net. What's it like having that kind of balance to get the results that you've had this season?
Yeah, it's really neat because a different player can step up every game. We've early in the season, freshman Julie Malouche was kind of leading the goal scoring, and she's still knocking a few in the net here and there. Amelia Como, who's a junior, has been one of our starters since freshman year. Kind of started off a little bit slow and just wasn't seeing the ball hit the back of the net very often, and was getting a little bit frustrated with herself, but really came into her own in these last few games. We had a key midfielder out in our second round playoff game with an injury, and she stepped up and just had the game of her life, scored a hat trick, some brilliant goals. So it's really been neat just seeing different players step up every game. Alba Zaccanino is a senior this year, and she was Region Player of the Year. And she has probably scored some of the most clutch goals. She scored both of our goals in our overtime win against St. Pius. She scored both of our goals in our regular season overtime win against Westminster. So it's just been really neat to see different players step up in different games. And so it's kind of neat too, because when other teams scout us, they don't necessarily know who to really key on, because we are pretty balanced.
BT, number one region champ out of Region 6, number one ranked team in the state of Georgia in the scoreboard rankings in Quad A, coming out of the upper right bracket, for those of you that fill them out in pen, as I do, only after the matches are over, so I don't mess things up, and I can read my own handwriting. Getting ready for Marist, coming up at Duluth High School tomorrow at 5 o'clock. They're the early game in the Quad A girls. The playoff bracket that you came through, you had that stretch where it was 3 matches in like 10 days.
Yes.
And it was Harris County, it was Pius, and then it was Allatoona. How difficult was it to navigate that run, considering it's 3-8, 3-9, 3-10, that crush to get, once you're out of the first round, it's a crush to get to the semis. How hard was that to navigate going up against a Harris County team that's always the throwing program down there in Hamilton, Pius, who is ranked number 6, and Allatoona, who's ranked number 5?
Yeah, it was definitely hard, especially that week when we played Pius on Monday and Allatoona on Thursday. You know, we went to overtime against Pius, so we had to play 100 minutes. Our legs were really, really, really heavy. So really, throughout the playoffs, we've been, doing a little bit of tactical work, especially based on opposition. But for the most part, we've just been focusing on trying to make sure everyone's as close to 100% as possible, doing a ton of recovery. Yeah, but it was, like I said, we had a key starter out in the Harris County game, but the girls really stepped up and played really, really well. Especially, this is kind of inside information, but the couple days before, we had a couple really lousy days of practice, and just to really, step up and play great. And then in that Harris County game, and then we really got some momentum going into the next week of practice, but we weren't pushing too hard because, again, we were just trying to make sure we were healthy. I really do think that's a key thing in the playoffs is you work all year to get to where you are tactically, technically, physically, and then you just really try to maintain your fitness and your health throughout the playoffs. So
when you have, how long did it take you stylistically to understand who you were as a coach? So when you get into situations like that, it's like, okay, I need to attack it this way versus, attacking it in a bunch of different ways. How long did it take you to become, I guess, you when it comes to your style and your approach to coaching?
I think as a coach, I think we're always growing every single year. So I don't think I'm necessarily, stagnant in what I'm doing right now. But in terms of, those sorts of things, in terms of really focusing on, hey, what's most important, and when you get to the playoffs is really just being healthy, just some things like that. That's probably been about, 5 or 6 years that I've really, really focused on that. I've been coaching high school soccer, I think, for about 18 years now. So I used to focus a lot more on fitness early, and now it's a little bit more about periodization and really trying to peak at the right time and trying to get healthy and get fit when you're getting into those important region games towards the end of the regular season and then into the playoffs, and not really worrying about it too much preseason.
How tough is Quad A for someone who hasn't seen Quad A soccer this year?
It's really tough. I mean, you have teams like Cambridge, who can play with anybody. Lost in semifinals to Marist. Marist is just it's an amazing program. They're good every single year and compete with anybody in the state as well. St. Pius, that was just a battle. We battled them twice. We beat them once in penalty kicks in the regular season, and then beat them in overtime. So there's definitely 8 or 10 teams that definitely could win it all in 4A.
So you know what Marist brings to the table for someone who's going to be walking into Duluth High School to see you play them tomorrow afternoon. When things are going well for you on the field, how would you describe that to a first-time watcher?
I would say that if we're in rhythm, in terms of just really playing quickly, connecting our passes, playing what we see, that's when we look our best. We also have a really strong defense. So we've only given up 6 or 7 goals all year. So we're just, smart, safe in the back. But then when we get the ball into the middle of the field, just really try to get in rhythm. We really work a lot on attacking patterns. So, like I said, we'll see hopefully a lot of quick play, 1 and 2 touch, things like that. When we're at our best, that's what we're doing. When we struggle is when we get stuck on the ball a little bit too long and a little slower on our decision making.
So what we do here is when I'm not doing soccer, I'm over at Georgia Public doing the high school football activity. We're doing the game of the week and that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the features that we do that Hannah Good and Matt Stewart and I do is called Make That Kid an Offer. And what we like to do is focus on those student athletes that, for whatever reason, are not getting the look that you feel they deserve, or not getting looks at all, and need to be getting looks that they deserve. They could be too small in quotation marks, too slow in quotation marks. Their GPA could be too low in quotation marks.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody there at BT that would fit into that Make That Kid an Offer category for you, where you'd like to sit there, wave your hands in the air frantically and go, no, you need to look at these individuals because they really do need to be playing at the next level?
Yeah, definitely. I have a 2026 grad who's just been kind of wavering a little bit with her recruiting. She's getting some interest and whatnot, but that's Amelia Como. She's actually she plays for ECNL for the UFA. She's our leading goal scorer this year. She comes up big when we need her to come up big too. So it's not just, the everyday things she does, but it's like really coming up big in the big moments. Like I mentioned in Harris County, I was a little bit concerned about that game, having a key midfielder out. And, when she just stepped up and said, you know what, I'm going to win this game for us.
As always, it's great to see you and great to find out what's going on there at Blessed Trinity. I know that you've got the bullseye on both the front and the back of the jersey as the top 5 team nationally going up against Marist. It's going to be a great one. Thanks for dropping by and letting everybody know what's going on there at BT this season. And give my best to everybody up there in Alpharetta. I know that you're heading over to Duluth. You're probably going to be leaving, about after this interview is over, so you can navigate traffic for tomorrow?
Yeah, so yeah, not quite. We'll probably leave pretty early tomorrow, though. We want to get there and just kind of relax in the locker room for a little bit, decompress, and then it'll be hot, so we probably won't even need to warm up that long.
As always, it's great to see you. Thanks for dropping by, and thanks for being a great steward for the game of soccer here in the state of Georgia. Thanks for dropping by. Good luck against Marist tomorrow.
All right, thanks so much, John. Thanks for having me.
There we go, and that's Coach Jackson at BT. And so that's the fun part in all of this. And so we get to catch up with coaches all around the state. We get to catch up with everybody and find out what's going on, and let you know what is up when it comes to the entire state. So this is what happens occasionally when you end up with computer program. You see that my face is frozen. And this is what happens when you try and dial up websites and they're not cooperating. And so I apologize for having my face frozen for the most of that interview with Coach Jackson, because you're trying to get some information and a website is being troubling. And so it's a bit of an issue trying to find what in the wide world of sports is going on and how you can get around the particular issue that is there. So I'm going to do something really quickly. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, then my face will just continue to be frozen, or you'll just see a black screen. And I might log out and log back in. So we'll see how this looks coming up in just a little bit. So what I may do is this. I'm going to try and do a little TV magic. So I'm going to turn that off, but I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to turn that off. And so here is how we're going to work the X number of minutes that are left here about now? And then it's a loop. Okay, hang on. All right, so, that's weird. That is very weird. Okay, so that camera's working. Oh, I think I know what mine. Okay, hang on. How about now? That's still the same thing. All right. Well, it's a bit of a loop. So hang on. I'm taking my headset off. All right. So here's the deal, because I don't want to hear through a headset and hear a loop. So the way it's going to be is like this. I can't believe I did that. Thank you guys for letting me know. Yeah, now it's fine. And video. Yeah, because full disclosure, when I was trying to load up for one of the particular websites, it is trying to tell me to buy a program that I do not want to buy. And it is not letting me out of that particular, how do I phrase it? It's not a bribe, but it's kind of holding your website hostage, or your web searching hostage. And so that's what's happening. So I am not going to be doing anything involving an alleged Windows Defender Security Center, because if I did, then I would have to log back out, log back in, and then you really couldn't hear me, and then you really couldn't see me. So for the remainder of the time, here's what we got on the docket. It is gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, and talking to you guys for telling me once again that was there. Okay, we might have a solution. So hang on just a second. We might be able to get back to where we were after only 17 minutes of trying to figure things out. Oh, hang on. So if we do this, am I like muting myself? Oh, I'm in loop. That's bad. Okay, hang on. That's awful. So let's do that. That was awful. That was an awful experience. Okay, so bottom line was this, and thank you for, I beg your forbearance for all of that stupidity. So basically what was going on was this. I was trying to get, the echo was worse when I had the headset on, and so I could feel it. But anyway, here's what happened. I was trying to get information from a particular website, and it was not letting me do it. And then because of my security software, it was alerting me that the website I was trying to get information from wouldn't let me access anything past that point. And so I got the spinning blue circle of doom, and it wasn't letting me go anywhere. And so that was why my face froze. And you got Botox John for all of that time in the interview with Coach Johnny from BT, was because the computer was thinking, and it was wondering whether or not it was going to let me do my thing and actually, I don't know, do a show. But it thought about it for a while, and then it finally kicked itself back out after I X out of the particular page. So we would like to thank our overlords at Norton for protecting the studio setup, for making sure that we didn't get anything wrong happen here. So yes, it is clear. God bless America and all the ships at sea. Okay, so anyway, time we got left. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we will get you ready for Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live at noon. There's a new episode of Bart's Soccer for US POD that is coming up in between 11 and 12. It's already loaded in the queue. I just have to sit there and unload it, and it's their Pro Rel episode. So that is going to be Bart et al. Coming up between 11 and 12 with the Soccer for US POD episode. And that's going to be on the network, and you can set your notifications with your podcatchers and such. Okay. I got to say hi to everybody, and we got to talk about topics. I know that Michael Valverde had a formation question, and it was wondering whether or not to go to a 4-4-2. And the reason I would posit is this. With 3 in the attack, it is a 4-3-3-ish kind of a thing from Nico Estevez. And so if you have 2 strikers, then you're going to want to have 3 defenders. And so that's why I think with Atlanta United, you're going to want to have with Brandon Vasquez and either Izuni or Bukhari, that you're going to want to have three defenders and you're going to want to have everyone else trying to push their way forward. So that's why I'm thinking it's going to be a 3-5-2, 5-3-2 tonight. And it's just a matter of trying to figure out what that starting lineup is going to be, Michael. So that's what we're kind of staring at. So time to say hi to everybody. Yes, I know new comments will display there. I need the old comments. Goodness gracious alive. And it reset itself. Okay. So that's fun. Yeah. So that, man. All right. So let me go back the old way and find all of the comments from this morning and say hi to everybody. And go all the way back to the beginning, because I know that the first hour was a great conversation that you guys were having back and forth with us and with each other. Morning, Alex. Morning, Michael. And and Michael with the meteorological pun of the day. Yeah, grass don't grow above 110. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And so this is going to be a test for both the managers and for the players. Managers in navigating, because you have midweek and weekend, and trying to figure out how to go from there. 110 M32. I don't think you can. He wants to bench Brad and put the players on notice. I think the second half is going to happen first. Brad Gazan has kept you in a lot of other matches this season and has given you the opportunity for the offense to put you in a position to get points. I think that Brad is probably the one right now that is your voice of stability and your player of stability in a starting 11. So let's see. Good morning, Alex. And Michael, it was good to see you the other day when we were out getting in our exercise. I know that Michael and Alex were having a good conversation. And so morning, Bart. And let's see. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Michael and Bart once again. Big conversations. Morning, Ropes. And yes, Mike was happy about the schedule because it put him in two great food cities. Absolutely true. Let's see. So morning ropes continues. A Ramstein show. Bowl committee not giving Vancouver enough credit. Yes, East Coast bias. Absolutely true. That's why you get your start times late. Then let's see. So Emilio and Bart giving the question for Dylan Butler. Morning, Dell. Yes, dads don't get to sleep. And so yes, and thank you, David, for reminding me about when we're back up and running and you can actually see me and hear me. So, but yeah, the biggest things, I know that when it comes to individual players, I know Michael Head, and I know that you and I are going to probably be having a long discussion offline, because if it was a discussion online, it would be you and me talking. So you and I need to just have a sit-down talk about Alexei Miranchuk, and the overarching points are that, at least where Alexei is concerned, where I'm concerned with Alexei, that Alexei, when you play Alexei deeper, yes, it gives him more space to create, but what you do is when he has to come back and play more defensively, you take him away from being a point guard, which is what he needs to be. We have seen when he has been given the lanes and the opportunities to create, we've been able to see the kind of player that Alexei Miranchuk can be. So you're caught right now in this, okay, where do we have him? Do we have him help out defensively and work forward, where he ends up with more defensive numbers and not helping out offensively? Or do we have him more forward and trying to engage when you know that folks are going to be marking latte lot? They're going. You have the pressure that Miggy is putting on himself and Saba is putting on himself, and trying to navigate all of that. So I know that we probably should have just a town hall offline about Alexei Miranchuk, and we probably should have one of those kinds of conversations. But yes, it was going to be one of those conversations that would be a long conversation involving Alexei Miranchuk and trying to figure out where Alexei fits and where he should be and what he's having to do. So it's two separate conversations. So yeah, like I said, I know it's going to be a long conversation that we would have in that particular case. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and once again, now that Botox John is back, it will be once again Soccer for US POD released this hour, and at noon, Soccer is in session playoff daily live, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So we'll have that coming up in at noon Eastern. So Manchester United apparently is closing in on Liam Delap. They are leading the race to sign him. Once again, he says he would be happy to move to Old Trafford. Forest is going to make at least 5 signings this summer. McAtee and Delap are those that 2 of those that they have scouted, according to the Telegraph. The other news coming out of Nottingham Forest is that Taiwo Iwani has been placed in a medically induced coma after the medical procedures that were that were performed on him after the match on the weekend. And so obviously we're keeping an eye on Taiwo Iwani going forward for Nottingham Forest and his health. Arsenal and Liverpool vying to sign Dean Houston. It looks like Liverpool and or Real Madrid might kick that £50 million release clause and then just start chasing after it. Houston wants to go to Real Madrid. Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea prepared to trigger the release clause to get the deal done this month, according to Fabrizio Romano. Bayer Leverkusen, right back Jeremy Frimpong, closing in on a £29.5 million move to Liverpool. That's from the 4-letter paper. Real Madrid, close to announcing the signing of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who, once again, they're demanding the £840,000 fee, so it's like €1 million, in order for him to play in the Club World Cup. United have also held talks with Antoine Semenyo about a possible move from Bournemouth. Brighton in talks with James Milner over a new deal with the club. Rodrigo does not want to play for Real Madrid again as he wants a summer exit. Arsenal wants to sign Sporting Lisbon's Victor Gyökeres, who has an agreement, but he can leave if another club agrees to pay the £60 million release clause. And Arsenal also interested in Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig. And so that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Now, I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but Haji Wright and Coventry City, they came that close. They were right there to go to the extra 30 minutes going up against Sunderland, but Sunderland scored at 90+2 to advance to take on Sheffield United in the championship promotion playoff. And so it was a fantastic piece of cinema at the Stadium of Light. So Sunderland advances, and they're going to be taking on Sheffield United for the 3rd spot to be promoted into the Premier League this year. So we got that one coming up as we go. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. So today, Copa Libertadores, and always keep an eye out for Howard Hamilton, our buddy from Soccer Metrics, and his performance and his bringing of the Copa Libertadores show that we have here on the network. And so it's a big thing for him and for us to have his programming here. So the Soccer Metrics Copa Libertadores show, keep an ear out for that, especially when it comes up and running each and every time that something new is going to be happening. And Libertadores and Sudamericana. It is Atlético Nacional, Bahia, Racing Club, Colo-Colo, Universitario, and Barça, 6, 8:30, and 10. That's going to be on BN. You can get all the BNs. Nuestro Telesitio for the fans, TIC, Liga 1 Max Pro, and Nuestro Tele, and Tigo, and our buddy Nino Torres at Gold TV, all at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. FS1 tonight, 8:45. They have the I-71 Derby, St. Louis and Kansas City, being an Espanol simulcasting Libertadores. Doubleheader on ESPN Deportes at 1 and 3:30. Villarreal Leganés, Real Madrid and Mallorca, Fox Deportes simulcasting MLS. TUDN has the Liga MX playoffs, Cruz Azul and America. That is at 9:30. Season Pass has all of the matchups, all 3, 6, 9, 13 that are not on Big Fox and FS1. And there are 2 teams that are not playing in this midweek window. One of them is New England. ESPN Plus has all the matches in the Eredivisie at 2 o'clock. Feyenoord Volvic, Groningen Ajax, Twente AZ Alkmaar, and PSV and Heracles Almelo. USL Championship tonight, Birmingham and Rhode Island is at 8. Chattanooga and FC Naples is at noon for a businessman special. Kids getting out of school special today, Chattanooga and Naples at noon. MLSNextPro.com in the midweek has Whitecaps 2 Tacoma Defiance at 9, Timbers 2 and LAFC 2 at 10:30. That's on MLSNextPro.com. Paramount Plus has the Coppa Italia final, Milan and Bologna at 2, League One playoff, Stockport County Leyton Orient at 3, Scottish Premiership, Aberdeen and Celtic is at 3 o'clock as well. Whew. So that's your preview of everything tonight. And what will happen later tonight is, once again, after everything goes on with Soccer for USPOD and with what you're seeing with Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live, where we visit our Murchie, Buford, and Sprayberry. It is going to be Abe Gordon and myself, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app for your pre and your post. Kickoff at 9:10. So Abe and I will be there starting at 8, I think, is when the broadcast starts. So we'll take you right up to kickoff. Mike and Jason will be there. They're going to have all of the activity from Austin. Maddie Cruz is there as well. She will be there for the call of the unified match coming up after the first team match. And that you can catch at atlutd.com/live. And then, like I said, tomorrow we'll see what happened. And at the same time, we will see if Maddie is at Bergstrom or if she is at home. Because our plan is to have Maddie on to bat leadoff tomorrow to find out what she thought about Austin. Todd Lewis from the Free Kick podcast is going to join us at 9:30 for our intel on Philadelphia after what happened against LAG tonight. We'll talk to Todd about it at 9:30 tomorrow. Then Nino and Nico will be the power hour. We'll get Nino to talk about everything going on Libertadores overseas in Portugal and everything that happened there. Then Nico comes on. He'll talk about what happened tonight, and then he'll talk about what's going to happen on the weekend. So let the chaos reign. And there you go. That's what we need here this time of the season, because there's a lot of games in a very short period of time, and we couldn't do it without you every single day. And Emilio, yes, to your point, he'd be Alexi would rather play the 10, but didn't sound happy about playing back. He says, but it was kind of what we got into involving Alexi, and Alexi wants to be that creator, but to help out defensively, it's like if we go back to the NYC match where Alexi was helping out defensively, he's not a true 10 at that point. And so you're more of a de facto 6/10 if you're doing something like that. And obviously, Alexi's going to do what the team needs for him to do at any given time. Don't take it as anything less than that. It's just that when you have the players that are in front, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. When you have the players that are there in that lineup, and you're still running into the same spaces if you are in front of him, where Alexi is your midfielder and your point guard, when you have folks running into the same spots in the same spaces, he's anticipating creation, but then it's the players that he is attempting to get involved in the offense that seem to be in the same operating spaces. And so that's what this first handful of matches in the season was supposed to try and sort out. So I think that's what you're getting at here, is that when Alexi's trying to create, then if you have players in front of him that are kind of bumper cars and smashing into each other, then he is doing what he is being asked to do, but he's frustrated, much like everybody else, in the fact that the end result isn't happening. And so then trying to help out defensively, if you're having injuries and things like that, and trying to figure out things stylistically as you're trying to create, and you have teams that are bunkering, then they're giving you that space to help create to go forward. But from there, then it's once again that final pass where you have basically 2 lines of 4, or a line of 5 and a line of 4, and trying to navigate all of that. But once again, it's 9v7, and so it's difficult, and so it's just navigating all of that. So that's where we are heading into the Austin match tonight. I will be intrigued. You heard what Tyler was going to say. Tyler, what he thought the starting lineup was going to be. Remember, no Pedro Amador, no Brooks Lennon, no Stian Gregerson. So what does it look like at the back? That's the biggest question. And then everything going forward. So that's where we are. Once again, pregame at 8, match at 9:10 with Mike and Jason, postgame with me and Abe at 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app, atlutd.com/live. It is going to be Jason and Maddie, and we'll see who else is there. I think the Hoff might be there, so we'll see what the lineup looks like for the matchup with Atlanta United and Austin FC's Unifieds after the match. You can catch that at atlutd.com/live. So once again, top of the hour, It's where we are. Top of the hour. It's in session. Soccer is in session. Playoff Daily Live. Armurchie, Buford, Sprayberry. That's coming up at the top of the hour. Soccer for USPOD coming up in just a bit, and that'll be on your podcatchers. And so set your notifications, all those kinds of things. Once again, great to see Coach Jackson at BT. Great to see Dylan. Great to see Tyler. Great to see you. When I could see you and I didn't have Botox face. So there you go. That's another go round of SDHAM. See you at the top of the hour in about 50 minutes. See you then after that, and we'll hear you tonight at 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. We'll be back at it again. Quick turn, 9:05 tomorrow morning for another stack show as we get ready to talk about Austin, get you ready for Philly, and talk about everything else that happened on the day. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by. End of the show. That means I get to do this. We'll see you in 49 minutes.